Today's madness is brought to you by the Hockey Guy. Told you there's a madness. I have enough magnets that my madness can be placed on the board in a way that I can get an entire video topic onto the board that I should not be able to get into one video. I went back to the 1968 expansion. That's right, the original. Because I've been asking a question. We're currently, at this point in time, 4 games into the Stanley Cup Final for 2018. And a question I've been asking myself since high school. Which round's actually the most difficult for teams? And I've always had a theory that it's those divisional matchups that are usually the most difficult, but I wanted to prove it. So, let's prove it. 1968, the Montreal Canadiens, their toughest round was round 2 when they got forced to 5 games by Chicago. Yeah, they never had to face an elimination game. 1969, they didn't have to face an elimination game that year either. The toughest challenge, round 2, Boston Bruins, 6. 1970, the Boston Bruins, no elimination game for them. The toughest challenge was round 1 against the Rangers in 6. So again, this is the first 3 years that St. Louis is in the league. And they went to the final 3 times in a row. And in no situation were they the most difficult out for a team. 1971, round 1 for the Montreal Canadiens. They win that one in 7 over Boston. And then the finals over Chicago. So Chicago moved from the east to the west to try to balance things out in 1971, and it kind of worked. 1972, Boston. The finals was their most difficult challenge. The New York Rangers. That was when they went to a seeding system that totally eliminated the fact that you had to have an east and a west finalist. You just had whoever. 1973, Montreal Canadiens' toughest challenge, round 1. 6 games against the Buffalo Sabres. And then in the finals, 6 games against the Chicago Blackhawks. So, the only Stanley Cup winner through these first 6 examples that had to face an elimination game was Montreal. Other than that, none of them faced an elimination game. They were never in a situation where they'd lost 3 and the next game would take them out. 1974, the Philadelphia Flyers in round 2. The toughest out was the Rangers in 7. 1975, round 2, the toughest out was the New York Islanders. And the New York Islanders were a hard luck team during the late 70s. And it's easy to forget that because I wasn't watching hockey yet. So there you go. 1976, the Montreal Canadiens, round 2. Their toughest challenge was the Islanders in 5. So the Islanders are on the board again. But let me make this clear. 5 was their toughest challenge. That was it. 1977. The Montreal Canadiens, toughest challenge, the Islanders, in 6. 1978, Montreal Canadiens, their toughest challenge, Boston, in 6. So after the Flyers got 2 elimination games, Montreal Canadiens, late 70s, no. Not until 1979 when in round 2 they beat Boston in 7, and all Boston fans remember that. That was a couple years before I came in and started watching hockey. 1980. The New York Islanders were finally the champs, but their toughest challenge was in the third round, so semifinals, when they beat Buffalo in 6, and then in the finals when they beat Philly in 6. 1981, the New York Islanders in round 2. Their toughest challenge? The Oilers in 6. Foreshadowing what would become a great rivalry, but at no point were they each other's toughest challenge the rest of the way. 1982. Round 1 was the toughest for the Islanders. They beat Pittsburgh in 5. This was when it was a best of 5 first round. 1983. New York Islanders again. Round 2 was tough for them. Kinda. They won in 6 over the Rangers. And then in round 3, they beat the Boston Bruins again in 6. Notice the Bruins are ending up in the losing column a lot, as are the Rangers. So, there you go. 1984. The Edmonton Oilers en route to their first Stanley Cup. Their toughest challenge, of course, was round 2, Battle of Alberta, Calgary in 7. 1985, round 3 was their toughest against Chicago, which was a 6-game series. 1986, round 2 was toughest for Montreal, and I understand Carolina wasn't in the league then, but I don't have Hartford magnets in this size. So it's Carolina, and Montreal beat Hartford in 7. Hartford fans, I'm sorry. 1987. The finals was the toughest for the Edmonton Oilers. 7-game series between them and the Flyers. This is only the 4th time that the finals is the toughest series, and the 2nd time that it goes to 7 on this entire board. Or no, it's the 5th time that it's the toughest round, and the 2nd time it goes to 7. 1988, round 1 against Winnipeg, 5 games. Round 3 against Detroit, 5 games. It was a quick one because Gretzky knew he was going to be done in Edmonton, so he didn't want to waste any time, and he got them all done early. 1989, round 1 for Calgary against Vancouver in 7. 1990, Edmonton, round 1 against Winnipeg in 7. 1991, Pittsburgh, round 1 against the New Jersey Devils in 7. 1992, Pittsburgh in round 1 against the Capitals. And I did notice a pattern that I thought was weird, that 4 years in a row, the toughest challenge the Stanley Cup champion faced was round 1. And after that, it was smooth sailing. 1993, round 1 against the Quebec Nordiques. I understand I used Colorado here, and I apologize to Quebec fans. Again, I don't have Quebec in the small ones. So it was Quebec in 6. 1994, the New York Rangers, their toughest rounds, round 3 against the New Jersey Devils in 7, and in the finals against the Vancouver Canucks, again in 7. Notice the Canucks don't have a Stanley Cup win, but they're in the most difficult category. I guess that makes us feel better. 1995, the New Jersey Devils, round 3 was their toughest round when Philly extended them to 6 games. 1996, the Colorado Avalanche, in their first year in Colorado, in the first round, Vancouver took them 6 games. Round 2, Chicago, 6 games. Round 3, Detroit, 6 games. Detroit then wins it in 1997. Their toughest challenge, first round, St. Louis, 6 games. Round 3, Colorado, 6 games. Round 1 shows up a lot. 1998, round 1, Arizona, 6 games. Round 2, St. Louis, 6 games. Round 3, Dallas, 6 games. Dallas could not beat the late 90s Detroit Red Wings. 1999, Dallas won, not having played Detroit. In round 3, they beat Colorado in 7. 2000, round 3, again, is the most difficult round. So it changes. We go from round 1 being the most difficult. Suddenly, the conference finals are the toughest, and that's kind of what we want to see, right? 2000, the New Jersey Devils in the conference finals against Philly, 7 games. 2001, the LA Kings gave Colorado a run in the second round in 7. And in the finals, New Jersey, 7. 2002, round 3 for the Detroit Red Wings. Again, it's Colorado. A lot of fighting, a lot of anger, a lot of hatred between those teams. It was quite the feud. 2003, New Jersey in round 3 faced a 7-game set with the Ottawa Senators, and then in the finals did it again against the Anaheim Ducks. 2004, round 3 goes to 7 between Tampa Bay and Philly. Tampa is the victor. And then Tampa, of course, wins in the finals in 7 against Calgary. 2006, Carolina, round 3. Buffalo in 7. And then in the finals, they win it in 7. 2007 for Anaheim. They didn't mess around either. Round 3 was their most difficult against the Detroit Red Wings. They win it in 6. 2008, the Detroit Red Wings, round 1, they had 6 games. Round 3, 6 games. And in the finals, 6 games against Nashville, Dallas, and Pittsburgh. Did I mention Dallas has trouble with Detroit? That never changed. So Detroit got moved to the East to help Dallas, and Dallas felt bad, so they decided to miss the playoffs. 2009, Pittsburgh en route to their Stanley Cup victory. Round 2 against the Capitals, they win it in 7. And in the finals, they beat Detroit in 7. 2010, the Chicago Blackhawks, round 1 against Nashville, they win it in 6. Round 2 against Vancouver, they win it in 6. And then in the finals, they beat Philly in 6 games. So again, Vancouver's on the board, doesn't matter. 2011, round 1 against Montreal in 7. And I don't know if I've cheered louder in my life. I really don't. Round 3 against Tampa, again in 7. And then in the finals, I've got 4-2 on this board, and I'm not sure why. I think maybe it's just the Canuck fan in me that said, Game 7 never happened, we lost that one in 6. No, it was 4-3. So there again, the Canucks are on the board, doesn't matter. 2012, For the LA Kings, the biggest challenge was the finals in 6. 2013, for Chicago, it's round 2 against Detroit. That's a 7-game series. 2014, for the LA Kings, San Jose was a challenge. They got behind 3-0, of course, won 4 in a row, so that's 7 games. And then round 2 didn't get easier. They win it in 7 games over Anaheim. And then in round 3 against Chicago, 7 games again. So the Kings really went through the stress test on the way to the 2014 Stanley Cup Final. 2015, Chicago, round 3 was their most difficult when they beat Anaheim in 7. 2016, round 3 was the most difficult for Tampa, most difficult for Pittsburgh as they defeated Tampa in 7. And then last year, 2017, Pittsburgh's most difficult challenges, round 2 against the Capitals in 7, round 3 against Ottawa in 7. It may feel like the Nashville series went to 7, it went to 6. And this year, of course, for the Capitals, right now, their most difficult round was the 3rd round. 4-3 series win. They're up 3-1 against Vegas. So is Vegas going to be that second team that challenges them to 7? Or do they win it earlier and Tampa's their biggest challenge? And then also on the board, Vegas. Vegas, their toughest challenge before this round was San Jose in 6. And of course, if they're going to win the Stanley Cup, they have to win it 3 in a row. And add the Capitals as another runner-up. I didn't do any other numbers than this. I could have put how many teams are losers in this, how many times they're winners, and what rounds. And I would have if I had started this morning. But there's a limit to my insanity at night. So there you go. A window into my insanity and trying to figure out which round is the most difficult to get through. Right in here, it's usually round 1. This period, it's round 3. And now it's kind of mixed. Round 1 here. Over the last few years, round 3's been difficult. 2, it definitely shows how much parity you have as opposed to here. How many teams face that elimination game now compared to previously. There's a lot of parity in this league. It's really unpredictable, and it's really fun. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.